Hi, it's Matt from the Pure Invention newsletter, but today I want to talk about something different. I thought it might be fun to talk about some of my behind-the-scenes experiences filming episodes of Japanology Plus. Japanology Plus is an NHK World TV series. I was the co-host of it from 2015 until 2020 when it went on hiatus for a little bit because of COVID. I'm still involved from time to time, but not as a regular cast member. But when I was filming episodes, I actually would often take a lot of pictures and sometimes even video behind the scenes. So I thought it might be fun to talk about my favorite episodes. Today I want to talk about an episode called Rescue Teams. And let me preface this by saying I can't link to the episodes here. I don't think there's an official channel on YouTube. They are unofficially up. I'm sure if you searched for the name and the episode title, you would probably find examples. Not that I'm suggesting you do this. But the episode I want to talk about was called Rescue Teams. And when we filmed this episode, I didn't have a lot of background going in. When I heard the title, and it was a very busy time, and so we didn't have really a script up until the day of. I assumed that we would be filming, we would be going to a fire department or, a police department or, I don't know, maybe a mountain search and rescue team, because there's a lot of that going on in Japan. It's an alpine nation. But it played out quite a bit differently. We piled into a bullet train very early in the morning. We get to Niigata, and then we pile all of our gear into a location van, and it drives for a while, and we wind up in front of a military base. A JSDF, Japan Self-Defense Forces, Air Self-Defense Forces, so an air base. And it's at this point when I turn to the director and I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, just hold on, all will become clear shortly. And so we pass through the gate. And as we pull into the parking lot, you can see the tarmac, and you can see a crew working on what looks to me like a Blackhawk helicopter, like getting it ready to fly. Later I learned it's actually a Mitsubishi variant, a Mitsubishi licensed version, the UH-60J, but it's basically a Blackhawk. I turned to the director again and I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, I'm serious, we're going up in that. And I was like, wait, what? What? And so we have to go and have a briefing with the crew, of course. I mean, I don't know anything about this. And into the room walks the most competent team of professionals. They just radiated competence, and like, they weren't macho, they weren't like badasses. They were just, you could tell these people knew what they were doing. And they walked us through the do's and don'ts of, getting on the plane or getting on the helicopter, getting off it, what not to touch, what not to film, what you can film, all of these sorts of things, what kind of quote unquote mission we would be on. And it turned out that we would be filming a simulated mission to rescue someone up in the mountains. And that someone would be played by a mannequin, like basically a human doll. And we would, quote unquote, rescue it. And I remember saying to one of the pilots or one of the crew, well, who do you normally rescue in this military helicopter? Because I'm not an expert, but I can tell a military helicopter when I see one, and this thing has all sorts of like electronic countermeasures, chaff dispensers, flares, like it's fully loaded and ready for action, so to speak. And they're like, well, generally we go in when the other teams get in trouble. Like, for instance, if a fire rescue team or a mountain rescue team or a Coast Guard team who is trying to rescue somebody gets into trouble. Maybe there's weather, maybe they have mechanical difficulty, or maybe in a really bad situation they themselves crash for whatever reason. This team comes in to rescue them, which makes a lot of sense, and it's pretty cool that they have this level of backup. But I was like, okay, well, what's with all the countermeasures and stuff then? Who are you defending yourself from? He's like, well, we also train in case we have to rescue somebody in contested territory. And I'm like, contested? And he's like, well, I can't really talk about that, but in a military type situation. I was like, okay, makes sense. Japan has a self-defense forces. They're a military. They're actually, I think, the second or third largest military in the world in terms of spending, so this makes sense. But we pile into the helicopter, and I have never been in a military helicopter before. I've never been in a military vehicle of any kind. You have to duck under these giant fuel tanks, and then the area where there's the crew who's obviously in their seats piloting the thing, but the back of the helicopter is just this giant rubberized room, basically. There's no seats. And so we get in there, there's this mannequin in there, there's all our gear, we're attached with these kind of umbilicals to hooks in the floor, and we take off and we head into the mountains. And it's a pretty thrilling experience. I've never been in an aircraft that flies as low and slow as a helicopter. But since you're so close to the ground, you really feel the speed. And this is key. You can look out forward. Like there are these bubbles on the side, which I guess they use to to watch what's happening on the ground. So you have like full 360-degree view around you. So you can kind of stick your head in one of these bubbles and look forward, which is something you can't do in any kind of aircraft unless you're the pilot, which I'm not. And we're flying what's called nap of the earth. You're kind of like following the terrain of a mountain where you can literally see the climbing trails, the mountain climbing trails beneath us as we're going up toward the summit. And we start orbiting the peak. It's just a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. There's no wind. The views are incredible. And the pilots, or the crew basically start, talking among themselves on a channel. You can't hear yourself in here. You're wearing these giant headphones. It's so loud in there, and you can only talk over kind of microphones and an internal, intercom system. And they're like, don't look. Just close your eyes. We're going to hide this mannequin, and we want you to find it using this beacon. There's like an audio beacon. It has a beacon on it, and I guess the idea is a pilot gets into trouble, they crash, they're shot down, they leave their crashed vehicle and run off and hide somewhere because they're not fighters. They don't really have a way to defend themselves very well. So they go off and hide and trigger the beacon so that the rescue team can come in and get them. So, I hide my, I just don't look. They hide some guys winch down. They hide the mannequin, come back up, and the helicopter starts orbiting again and goes all the way around to the other side. And then I start listening on the beacon. It's like ping, ping, ping. And it gets louder or softer depending if you get closer. And this is a simulation. I'm no expert at this, and they're helping me. But it's pretty easy to figure out, oh, it's getting louder, it's getting loud. Oh, it's very clear now, it must be here. And so I find the location of the downed pilot, even though I can't see them, because I guess a pilot will literally hide themselves. You don't want to be just like running around out in the open if you're hiding in contested territory. So we're hovering over that again, and then it's time to go out. We have to get out of the helicopter, but there's no way to land. It's this patch of greenery on the top of the mountain. I don't even think it's accessible by hiking paths, which makes sense. They want to use a place where there's not going to be a lot of civilians around for their testing. So we're kind of deep in the mountains. And one by one, the camera crew and I start, the JSDF guys help us, they winch us down. We rappel down from the helicopter. The doors open. The helicopter's hovering. We're like 20, 30, 40 feet over the ground. I'm kind of afraid of heights, but this didn't freak me out. It was interesting. It's so stable. The pilots are really good at what they do. The winch operators and the rappelling guys, they're very good at what they do. Really put us at ease. I'm sitting there with like my feet hanging out of a helicopter 40 feet over the ground. It's something I never would have imagined ever being able to do. And, I winch down. And here's another experience. Standing on a mountaintop with the downblast of a helicopter just coming onto you. I've never felt anything like that before. It is really windy directly underneath the helicopter. I don't know if this is different for a civilian one. But underneath a Blackhawk, it's almost like a small hurricane going on. Like the plants are all being pressed down. And then after they drop us, probably because of this, because the wind is so strong, the helicopter takes off for a while. It goes somewhere else, and it gets totally quiet. And we're on this mountaintop, just beautiful, like fall day. And I'm thinking to myself, man, what a great experience it is being on this show. I never would have been able to experience this before. And the military guys are doing kind of practice medical checks on the dummy, because this is, they're trying to use this as a training situation too. And a few minutes later, the helicopter comes back, and it's like this big machine is suddenly hovering over us again. And we winch back up, and we get in. And for the next, on the way back home, the captain of the helicopter is like, anywhere else you want to go? And I'm thinking to myself, man, I could stay up here forever. I would love to stay up here forever. So we just asked for another kind of loop around, I think, the mountain peak, and just kind of enjoyed the day, enjoyed the scenery, and enjoyed this just insanely awesome experience of being on a just high-tech, high-performance machine like this, surrounded by people who had dedicated basically their lives and careers to operating it and to saving other people. So it was a really cool experience, embedding with this Air Japan Self-Defense Forces rescue team, the kind of thing that I never would have gotten to do without Japanology Plus. One of the things that I am very, very grateful to Japanology Plus and everyone involved in making it for. And yeah, that was my favorite episode of all time. Lots more to talk about, many more episodes, but we'll save that for another time. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe below. And please watch Japanology Plus. It's still going on. It's still a great show. And cheers. Hope you enjoy. Talk to you next time.